Welcome back to One Piece Anime Review. This is part 6, and I'm viewing season 6, which is 52 episodes, basically, this season was. Yeah, took me like a couple days to get through. Yep, I finished it up last night. The only reason why I didn't exactly do this recording video last night, because my mother doesn't like it when I record videos like after 11 o'clock. She doesn't like that at all because she wants to go to sleep. This I think I would really want to, but not now. So that's how I do it now. Right now I'm working on season 7 right now. I need to make a notification on Facebook about it. This season is pretty much an adaptation of the entire Skypiea arc from the manga, which takes up approximately 8 volumes. Actually, it's more like 9. Yeah, it started with volume 24, which was basically finishing up adapting that. I think it's about halfway through volume 24, and it doesn't finish up until about halfway through volume 32, which that kind of leads into basically what I'm working on right now with the whole Foxy Pirate stuff. But this was a pretty interesting season. It basically brought in some stuff basically that they would use later on, basically in a couple filler arcs. A vehicle they actually found at the start of this particular arc, and they would keep it throughout the entire arc. Heck, they still have it, and it's still stored in their ship. Now, in the canon-wise, the Wave Rider, which is the one they found on the ship that fell from the sky, from what I know about it, they only used it a couple more times in the manga. In the anime, they actually used it in the following arc, basically, which is the start of this current season I'm working right now. But that I'll talk about next episode. But this season is purely just pure fun, and the main villain is a character that, well, wasn't exactly built up toward, basically. Not exactly, there's references to him throughout the whole, throughout when they get to Skypiea. First, it starts off with an area called, it's kind of like 2 arcs into one, but the whole saga is Skypiea. Where they first go to an island where they try to figure out where it is, and try to prove it exists, and they decided to go to a sky, and they kept there with something called the knock-up stream, where they basically fly into the sky. No, seriously, that's how they do it. And they get up there, and this is something that's never explained. Not even the manga bothers to explain this at all. These angel people have wings in their backs, and they don't fly. Seriously, they do not fly at all. Not even the Native Americans, basically, which are, I think it's the Cyclorians. I'm not sure how you pronounce the people's name, but basically they're based upon Native Americans. That's basically what these people are. And they do sacrifices, though some of the sacrifice stuff kind of reminds me of what basically the Aztecs did. So basically, you can kind of describe these people as sort of a mixture between the Aztecs and Native Americans. Yeah, that's what it's, and basically the whole Lost City of Gold thing. And one guy being executed. Now, he got executed differently than the Gold Roger did when he was executed in a flashback. It's the same devices used, basically. Instead of being stabbed, he is beheaded with this thing. And I'm kind of glad I didn't show the beheading, because that would have been kind of gross to see. But when I think of beheading, I think of basically people who put through the guillotine, or take a big, huge axe and just chop it right off. Not, 2 swords act like a pair of scissors. Yeah, the only time I think of that was in Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin Skywalker took 2 lightsabers and basically decapitated Count Dooku with them. Yep. Basically, like a pair of scissors, just chop it right off. Yep, and basically they decided to execute him that way. And of course, they also used a couple monkeys, which they didn't know at that point that these 2 monkeys were actually brothers. It wasn't revealed a little bit later. But yeah, this was a pretty. Now, when they got up there, it was pretty interesting. Yeah, and the toll basically that they had to pay is ridiculous, like 2 million as Exceed. Yeah, 2 billion. Are you freaking serious? Oh, and they say how much that is in berry money. Basically, if people had to pay, it's 7 million berries. Wow, that's an expensive toll. And it's known as the Heaven's Gate. And it's run by an old lady, and she takes pictures with her camera. Yeah, despite the fact this is a show where it's like, what if the era of pirates never ended? But mixed with modern technology a bit. Well, they communicate with snails. Yeah, this is something that's really bizarre though. Though there's no Marines in this particular season scene, but they do introduce, as far as I can tell, a couple more warlords to see. One is basically a guy who dressed up like he's a flamingo, and he has devil powers. His power is to basically use his fingers to manipulate people to do whatever the heck he wants. The other one is a character who does pop up later on during the Sea Body arc, which that's the first time I remember seeing him, but apparently he should appear. I think his name is like Baron Corsia, I think that's how you pronounce the guy's name. And the only reason why they're there is because they wanted to get elect somebody to replace Crocodile, basically because he went to jail at the end of the previous arc. Well, the last major one, anyways. And they even had Hawkeye Mihawk show up at the thing, and like, Hawkeye Mihawk, what are you doing here? Now, I later found out he's actually one of the 7 warlords. But they don't bring it up in the show for some reason at this point. Yeah, they don't bring up the fact he's one of the 7 warlords. I get the reason why that they don't, let's say, arrest him on the spot for just coming to the meeting, because they probably have a lot of respect for him because he's a great swordsman. Because, well, he has the title of the world's greatest swordsman, so they probably would not need to arrest him, despite the fact this guy basically was known for in the Brittle arc, yeah, where he sliced up like 50 ships with one sword. Yeah. But I thought that particular scene was actually quite interesting, and you get a chance to see the admirals. And I've heard, now I've seen even the manga, these guys are huge. These guys are like 8 to 9 feet tall. I'm like, why in the world would Oda basically draw admirals to be 8 9 feet tall? Honestly, I don't know. But looking at them in the show, they don't look like they're actually 8 9 feet tall. They might be over 6 feet tall. My guess is close to 7 feet. But as far as I know, there is no reason for these admirals to be freaking huge. Yeah, there's no reason for their heights at all. But yeah. And of course, this is also the season we also get introduced to Blackbeard. Yep, Blackbeard. He gets introduced this particular season. Also, Whitebeard is introduced in this particular arc. Yeah, he does get introduced. And we get a chance to see Whitebeard. And he's huge. He's like 10 feet tall. And yeah, he is really, really big. I'm like, sweet Jesus, this guy is big. Yep. And from what I've heard about the character Blackbeard, he's based upon the real life Blackbeard that existed in the, I think it was the 1700s. Yeah, I've heard of the guy, so I know who he is, and I know he was executed by the UK back in the 1700s. Legendary pirate. So it's nice, though, the fact that they have a character who's like Blackbeard, but he's nothing like basically the pictures I've seen of him. Basically, the Blackbeard of the show doesn't have much of a beard. Yeah, he looks very scruffy, got a little bit of a beard, and he's kind of big per se. He looks like he's about, height wise, he looks like he's about 6'5", and looks like he has a beer belly. Yeah, and I see his ship. His crew consists of 5 people, and his ship is like a giant sized raft with cannons in the logs. Which I'm thinking, though, he's supposed to be a pirate, and like every single pirate show up in the show, usually they have a great looking ship, and yet Blackbeard has this piece of crap. Yeah, he's probably got the worst looking ship I have ever seen in the show. And normally these pirates usually have grand looking ships. Like, yeah, it looks like they spent a lot of money on it, or at least in the case of the Straw Hats crew, where it was donated to them. Because, well, they saved the woman. They saved the woman's life. But it's like Blackbeard put no thought into basically this ship. Just scrounged together like 6 giant-sized trees, put a mast on it, and call it a ship. No, I call it a giant-sized raft. I mean, Blackbeard, if you're gonna be a frickin' pirate, at least build a proper ship. Yeah. And they also introduce a group of pirates who are really stupid. Their symbol is like basically like a white face, like an actual ghost-like face, with teeth and is kind of like an X, like a slash mark through it. and these guys like are preaching like the whole old era of dreams is over. Excuse me. Yeah, basically what these guys say is bullcrap. Yeah, and Luffy basically won his fight without throwing a single punch, despite the fact that he got thrown to a window. And first time I've seen it in an anime where a guy's head goes to the window and actually bleeds. Yeah, too bad that couldn't happen in freaking Bleach, where Ichigo's head went through a window and his head didn't bleed, and yet Luffy's head bleeds when he went through a window. Yeah, I'm glad the fact this is the first anime I've actually seen that for, where, you know, a character's head goes to a window and it actually freaking bleeds. Yeah. And even though that, they get much information on the Sky Island, Robin somehow was able to find out about it because she used her wonderful, sexy charms. Basically, a lot of guys, especially her flower powers, basically where she just does this and basically hands just pop out of nowhere, and she can use this to kill people or basically tickle them whenever she feels like it. Yeah, and her hands always come very useful. And one thing interesting though about this particular arc, it does basically build on something that was kind of started in the last arc with the whole giant cube thing. I think it's known as the Pyro Pico Cube, I think it's called. Yeah, they basically follow up on it, and apparently at some point 20 years prior, at least a little over 20 years prior to the start of the show, apparently Gold Roger himself actually visited Skypiea. And he actually wrote his name on the gold bell that people were looking for 400 years, which apparently was basically on top of a cloud the whole time. Yeah. But this was an interesting season nonetheless. The villain was kind of stupid looking. Yeah, his appearance is that you have a guy who wears baggy pants, has this metal ring coming out of his back, and he walks around without a shirt on or pants, and he has some jewelry on him. He has like long earlobes. I'm like, seriously? Yeah, and apparently he's had the title of God for the past 6 years, and he has a giant-sized floating arc. Now, when you see this thing in an anime, you're probably thinking, oh, they probably say something like this for one of the movies. Nope, this is actually the actual show. And they also did this. They did something interesting though in the show, where they did this also during the Alabasta arc, where they kind of give where the character's progress is in this particular area. Like, oh, they go up, they go down, they go all over the place. Yeah, they did this a lot in this particular arc as well. So that was something that continued from that particular idea, basically tracking where the characters are in this area. Which I gotta praise the anime for that. The Alabasta arc did the same exact thing. Yeah, so this overall was a great season. So you got a chance to see a couple new warlords. I think previously you only seen one, and that was Crocodile. Crocodile was the first one. First noteworthy one to show up in the show. Yeah, Hawkeye, Mihawk was introduced in season 1, but yeah, he wasn't identified as a warlord. He was simply identified as the world's greatest swordsman, which Zoro fought him and lost, and got that big scar across his chest, which he still has this very day. But yeah, this season you got a chance to see 2 new warlords, one potential warlord who actually did become a warlord, and later resigned. So yeah, anything really else? Well, the season ended basically where it led into the filler arc that started off season 7, the whole marine base thing. Yeah, when the Straw Hat Pirates get out of Skypiea, they land, instead of like landing somewhere in the ocean, they land in the middle of a marine base. Wow. And that's how they ended the season. Though the next episode kind of basically shows a little bit before they get to it. But I'll talk about that in the next part, which probably will be up maybe later today. Maybe. So, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for part 7, where I talk about season 7, which is basically a 33 episode season, which I've already got done as of right now. About, I think it's like 12 episodes so far. So yeah. So until I see you next video, bye.